Good evening, everyone. This is Rohit, and thank you very much for finding time and joining this webinar. I'm very glad to share that National Technology Day quiz was given by more than 10,000 students. So it gave us a lot of motivation to keep on doing and keep on conducting such quizzes every month. So we have decided that we will be bringing lots of new things in the months to come, and we will keep on this webinar series, which we are starting today, also in every month. Along with this, we are certifying the teachers who are participating, which you can receive at the end of this presentation by giving a small quiz of 17 questions. The link of the quiz we are going to share with you, and it is hardly going to take 8 to 9 minutes to do that quiz because it has only MCQ type of questions, and you will get a, a certificate with your name, certificate ID, date of certificate, everything. So that certificate can be used as a CBSE mandate for the trainings also. So I think with this I welcome you all again, and also welcome Sarika. Thank you for taking time and being with us in today's session. And I believe the experience Sarika has will help us to understand these key emerging technologies. Sarika is a graduate of IIT Kanpur. She topped among girls category in JEE 2006 and an all India rank of 83. For past 15 years, Sarika is working with top tech companies. She started her career with Microsoft, then moved to US, worked in a data company called Sumo Logic, then worked in a security company called Logic Hub, then Devo. Currently, she is heading the AI governance wing of Glean.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining on a Saturday evening. And it's my pleasure to be addressing all of you educators. And I hope that in today's session, we are able to understand what are the most important technologies today and for the next decade for us. As we all know, in the last few years, technology has dramatically changed. Even I think in 3-4 years before pre-COVID and post-COVID, the world has entirely changed. COVID forced all of us to move online, and then now we are in middle of an AI revolution. And there is, with this coming AI revolution, there are many other fields in technology that are going to change rapidly over the next 10 years. And I hope that in this session, we are all able to, at a very high level, understand what are the key technologies, what sort of changes it's going to bring to the world around us in our daily lives, in the lives of everyone. Can I please request you to be on mute so that we are able to conduct the session without disturbance? Thank you so much. Also, yeah. Rohit, can you please mute? Yes, thank you. All right. Yeah. So yeah, at the end of the session, we'll hopefully understand what are the top technologies and how can we leverage them in our daily lives and how it's going to change the world and our lives too, and our students' lives as well. And we are able to understand and build a curiosity towards these technologies rather than approaching them with fear and concern. So we'll keep it a bit light and fun also. We'll not make it too technical, but happy to take any questions. You can post the questions on the chat. Please keep yourself muted, and we will use chat for most of the interaction throughout this webinar. All right. So, Rohit, give a quick intro about myself. So, I have been in the tech world for last 15 years. I've worked as a leader in many security and AI companies. Currently, I'm heading the security division of a AI company, which is one of the top AI companies in the world called Glean. We help build AI technologies to help businesses automate their work. For example, automate coding, automate customer support, automate sales jobs. And there has been a tremendous change that we have seen in the way that we do work, as well as the companies that we help do work, in such that more than 40 to 50% of the work has already been automated, which is incredible given most of the AI transformation, the recent AI transformation came no more than about 1.5 to 2 years ago. So we can only imagine what's going to happen in the next 10 years. And we'll talk about some of those things in the coming slides. All right. So let's get started. And before we start going through the list of technologies and deep diving into it, I wanted to just paint a picture of what we can imagine 2035 would look like. And let's see if all of you agree that this could be a reality, or it just seems too out there and not almost like science fiction to you. But here's my optimistic picture of what a day in 2035 could look like. We are talking 10 years from now. So I imagine, like, I think there's a kid here joining from Jagdish, and 10 years from now, maybe he's a bit too old, but let's say a 12-year-old, a 15, 18-year-old kid wants to go to school. He's going to wake up and a self-driving car or his bus is self-driving, and it will pick up the kid and drop him over to the school. And while during his commute, he hopefully has his tab with him, and in the tab he has his personal virtual AI tutor who helps him or her revise all the mistakes that he made in the class yesterday, that his teacher has asked him to revise before coming to class today. And when he gets to class, the day starts with a science class. And in the science class, of course, we do all the usual things of how we study. But then today is a lab day, and Araf, our kid, is going to use VR headsets to walk through and walk inside a DNA molecule and see exactly how CRISPR technology is used to do gene editing. And that's very interesting because it's very hard to understand some of these concepts. So with this, he's able to play around, he's able to visualize, he's able to experiment without obviously causing any real harm. Uh, and once he comes back from school at 4 p.m., this is usually play time. And for him, play means that he's going to build a game. Now, 12-year-old might sound too young to be able to build anything because isn't coding too hard? But thanks to AI, building games is less about coding, but much about creativity. So he's able to use AI, and he's working with a friend from Brazil who he met during a VR football games that he was playing with him. Now, the friend from Brazil doesn't know English, and he doesn't know their language, but they are still able to communicate thanks to real-time language translation. And that's pretty cool, right? Both of them together building a game without even knowing each other's language, but able to collaborate real time. And right before dinner, parents come home. Mom's going to help Arav create a song using music, AI, and he's going to upload that song to his store. It's not a physical store, it's a virtual store in the metaverse, which he can sell as a NFT and probably earn some crypto for himself, so as pocket money. So that seems very different from what we think of as a usual day to day. And but I wonder if you guys think that this is too out there, it's all sci-fi, it's not possible. But I would say that a lot of these pieces are starting to become reality. We may not see a lot of it happening in India yet, but a large part of it is starting to happen in countries like US and China as well, which is quite far ahead. And I would say that with an optimistic view, this is not sci-fi. It is where the kind of world that our students will grow up in. And we as educators have to become their guides. And that's why it's important for us to be able to understand where technology is heading and what sort of changes to anticipate and what kind of skills we need to teach them to be able to thrive in such a future. So yeah, change is coming fast, and the next 10 years will evolve much, much, much more rapidly than the last 100 years have been. So while we may feel that 10 years is still far away, why are we talking about it today? But we'll realize that the 10 years will happen in the blink of an eye and the world would be very different. So it's important to keep up as time goes through. And so let's start on that journey. And today what we'll try to cover is that we can't cover everything. So what we are going to do is we are going to try and cover the top 6 technologies, which are the most impactful. All right. So here is the first pop quiz for you all. Very simple one in your chat. Can you please write what do you think is number 6? We'll do it countdown style. So we'll start from number 6, go up to number 1, which will be our last special reveal. But what do you think this is, number 6? Any guesses? You can use the chat to write and interact. Yeah, we have some answers here. All right. I think one of you said blockchain, and that's right. Absolutely. So congratulations. And this is absolutely right. So number 6 is blockchain. And blockchain is one of the harder technologies to understand. It has been around for some time now, but it has not gained as much mainstream traction as, for example, ChatGPT and other technologies have. So it's a bit of a hard technology, but I'll try to summarize it in an easy to understand way that what is it. So simply put, blockchain is a secure way of storing important information or records. For example, we all have bank accounts, and in our bank accounts, we do transactions. Now, these transactions are today stored in the cloud somewhere and or in the database server somewhere, in storage somewhere. It's a digital record. Now, those digital records can be hacked and are not as secure as we would like to be, because of course, wouldn't you be scared that it can be hacked, and then if somebody wipes it and says that no, it's not Mr. Let's say Mr. Satish's money, it's my money. And if you just change the account ID in there, then the money will move from account A to account B. So that's not very secure. So blockchain, very simply put, is a extremely secure recording system wherein it's like a ledger or a notebook, you can think of it, where you can put entries that everybody can look at and can verify. So everybody can see that entry number or money deposit number, a deposit of 2 lakhs went to account number 1234. Everybody can look at it, but nobody can change it. So that's pretty cool because it's open, it's transparent, everybody can look at it, can verify the records. It's a single source of truth and nobody can ever change it. So that's what brings in a lot of security. Blockchain is the technology behind it that makes it possible. And with such a technology, it sets up for security in a more and more digital world that we are going towards, right? All of our assets are moving from physical assets like real estate or gold and such to more and more digital assets. But it's a legitimate fear as to how do you make that secure. And blockchain is the means to get there. So there's a lot of promise of blockchain there. And based on blockchain, there are a few other technologies that you might have heard about or be familiar with, maybe even tinkered with a little bit, such as cryptocurrencies, and Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are based on blockchain. That's why they are deemed to be extremely secure and extremely wanted also, because the idea is that cryptocurrencies in the future will be the currency of the digital world. NFTs are digital assets that you create. So today, if you create a image which is very cool, let's say, much like a physical art, then there is no ownership. How do you decide ownership of a image that you see on Google search, let's say? So blockchain allows you to do that, and that's why blockchain is important, to be able to assign ownership and verify ownership of a particular digital asset. And as soon as you can do as verification of ownership, then you can sell the digital assets also, and you can create businesses around digital assets also. So that's why NFTs become very interesting, and that blockchain enables that. And blockchain is also very much applicable in other sorts of things where you need proof, such as academic certificates, digital certificates, and contracts in the business world. So a very simple example could be that if blockchain becomes a reality and we are starting to use it for managing academic certificates and digital transcripts, let's say there's a student, Priya, who applies to a college in the US. Now, the college in the US could look at that blockchain because it's a transparent open notebook. They can verify in seconds whatever she's claiming is true, because it can never be tampered with. It's tamper proof, and immediately within seconds the verification is done, instead of starting with a place of mistrust. So that's the power of blockchain. This is what we'll cover on blockchain, and we'll then move on to the next most important technology, in my opinion, which is our number 5, and a very cool technology too. Again, I think a small interesting quiz for all of you. What do you think this is, guys? Any guesses? Oh, I think I revealed it too early. But if any of you guessed quantum computing, yes, absolutely. So it's quantum computing, and we'll talk a little bit about what it is. Again, one of the harder technologies to understand, because quantum computing still is reserved to the labs. It has not become mainstream, not by individuals, but also not by companies so much. It's only built and developed by some of the very few companies in the world, and it is quite expensive as a technology, and it also requires very unique conditions to be built. But let's first understand what quantum computing is. So for that, I'll have another very small quiz for you. So on the left-hand side is a picture of a quantum computer. This is a quantum computer. This is Google's quantum chip, and it's called Willow. It's Google's quantum computer chip. And quantum computing essentially is nothing but the next generation of computing, and which uses and is based on quantum physics. We'll talk a little bit about that, but then before we talk about it, a quick question for you. So here is the experiment that they did, and they published the results for. So Google's Willow completed a complex computation in under 5 minutes. So my question to you is that on the most powerful computer, which is not a quantum computer, but a classical computer, how much time do you think that would have taken for that particular task? Any guesses? Would it be a couple of days, couple of weeks, hours, maybe months? I'm trying to see where. Hours. Somebody said 5 hours. Okay, hours. Any other guesses? Days, maybe. Anybody thinks it would be months or years, maybe? Hours. Okay. All right. So I'll let you think about this one a little bit. So Google's Willow completed the computation under 5 minutes. For even the fastest supercomputer today, which is not a quantum computer, it would have taken 10 to the power 25 years, which far, far exceeds the universe's age. So you can imagine how powerful that is. And all the things that could be possible if quantum computing became mainstream is also somewhat hard to imagine, that what all could we do if we had such power in our hands. So it's extremely, extremely powerful, but it's still at number 5 because it's not mainstream. It requires extremely severe conditions like near zero temperature, near absolute zero temperature, which is not possible, and just 1 degree above near zero is where we have started to make quantum computing feasible, which in itself is a big accomplishment. So it's far from being mainstream. It's quite expensive, but it's extremely powerful. And if we are able to utilize this and solve general problems, so far it has been only possible to solve specific problems with it, not general problems like we can do with our classical computers. You write a code, it can solve anything. That's not how quantum computing works. But if we can, then quantum computing can definitely be used to solve the biggest problems of the world. For example, it can do brain mapping, it can do gene mapping and DNA mapping, protein folding. All of these are extremely important modeling problems that will then allow us to do drug discovery and research in physics and understanding of the universe, right? For example, modeling of the universe, it's not possible in the computers that we have, even with the most powerful computers. So you could potentially map the path of stars and galaxies and such and figure out if something is ever going to hit Earth, right? That's just one problem I made up. But yeah, so I think if it became feasible, then there's a lot of promise in that it'll allow us to understand a lot of mysteries of the universe as well as of the Earth, and it is based on quantum physics. Very simply put, why it's so fast is because our classical computers are based on bits, and it understands only two states, as all of you must know, that classical computers are digital computers. They understand only two states, 0 or 1. But quantum computers understand multiple and almost near infinite states at the same time. So it can evaluate almost an infinite number of computations at the same time. So it's a probabilistic thing. It's a bit hard to understand, but that's where it gets the power from, and that's why it's extremely, extremely fast. All right. And of course, there are some challenges with quantum computing, as comes with something as powerful as such a technology. If it does become mainstream, or even if it becomes mainstream or possible for some of the companies in the world, I just wanted to talk about one interesting thing, that all of the security, digital security, I mean, like your passwords, etc., all the banking infrastructure and their security. I have worked in security for a lot of time. Passwords are only one thing, but we also encrypt, the data that we store at our end whenever you are dealing with any application like Google Drive, or you store your data, and that's all encrypted before being. Everything will break down, and security will only be a myth at that point, because technically all encryption can be bypassed by quantum computers. So quantum computers are too powerful that it can guess all the passwords and therefore unlock all the protected data systems. So that's a big concern with quantum computing. And also there's work going on to figure out what sort of security to enforce in a post-quantum world. All right, so with that, we will move on to the next one. Quiz time again. What do you think this one is? This one I am guessing most of us should be able to guess. Yes, yes, that's right. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Awesome job. It's Internet of Things. Yes, now we will get to hear and see about more mainstream things that we are more well versed with. We also probably use it day to day, and we will focus more on what it's going to be in the future. I see a lot of activity with annotations. Please avoid that if possible. I I can see how it'll be uh, uh, quite exciting to fill that in. But I would appreciate if we don't do that and make it a good experience for everybody. All right, so Internet of Things. So Internet of Things we are used to. Maybe you can think of some examples and post it in the chat here. Very, very common examples. If you look all around you, you can think of many of them. Uh, but and keep posting in the chat. We'll keep it interactive, and I'll just start with some examples because this is something we should be familiar with. So your wearables, your Apple Watch, or your any sort of watch that is tracking anything, that's an example of Internet of Things. If you even your AirPods or your earphones, if they have some sort of capability, if that's able to connect to the internet, that's also an IoT device. And if you have lights or fans that are able to you are able to control from your app, that's another example. Your TV certainly is now an IoT device because it's most likely connected to the internet. So very simply put, Internet of Things is simply things that can access internet and can collect information from the world around them, and connect to the internet, do some computation in the internet, connect to other devices on the internet. And together is the power of the Internet of Things, that it it basically allows all of your devices to connect and give you a more connected experience as opposed to isolated experience. So let's say if you're doing something on your phone, such as searching for protein powder, let's say, and if your weighing machine was also an IoT device, then automatically, if that information from your weighing machine goes to your app, it can probably give you better suggestions on what's appropriate for you, depending upon your BMI, your gender, your weight, etc. Right? So the possibility is endless if all of the things that you interact with started to become connected amongst each other and are able to connect data about you. It's a bit scary also, I would say, because your devices would then know a lot about you, and would be able to kind of almost guess what your next step is. And but then also it's very exciting if we look at the positive side of things. It would almost be like for kids how moms know everything about them and they are able to guess what the kid wants. That's how it would be like our personal assistant who knows everything about us and is able to almost figure out what we want to do as a next step. Yeah, so I think we are very familiar with all of the devices that we use day to day, but let's think a little bit about the future and what the future could look like with IoT. So I'll give you some examples. For example, agriculture is set to have a huge revolution because of IoT devices. With sensors and connectedness to internet, you are going to be able to do much more controlled agriculture, which will be much more productive in such that you will be able to figure out what is the right time to plant a crop, what's the health of the soil, how much water should you put there, is your crop does your crop have any disease, and many such things that will allow us to increase our productivity immensely. And we were at IoT, and I just wanted to share one more example of IoT, and also I think like this example of some people creating a new sense in such a meaningful conversation that we are having as a group is one of the perils of all of this technology too, that it's hard to control and people can be anonymous and create a nuisance. But keeping that aside, thanks for this served as a good demonstration. So we take our lessons from there. But uh, moving back to the discussion on IoT, we talked about how IoT has the potential to change agriculture, and that's only one thing. With IoT, all of the industries, if you think about warehouses, if you think about even shops, even smaller shops, our homes for sure, everything's going to change. Another example that I really love is that retail is going towards being completely automated too, such that if you walk into, let's say, Reliance like shop, it's very much likely what could happen is that the shelves themselves could be smart shelves that you pick up something or you're able to basically check the price of it and everything. Today we see it also there, but you pick up the things, it will automatically identify what items you have. Your cart, your shopping cart could be a smart cart that understands you have so and so items of a particular type, and you simply check out. And this is not future, this has already been tried in some pilot stores, wherein you simply check out and it's able to understand that this is the value you have to pay, and you don't have to pay either. It's automatically debited from your credit card or your payment system that you have attached. So we are moving towards a much more convenient world and a more connected world that will allow us to do some of these things very easily. Now Specifically in education, I think IoT is one of those technologies that not only it's important in our life, but it can also add a, a ton of value in education too. Some of the usages of IoT in education are already prevalent, and then some of those could be deemed as a bit more futuristic. Things such as attendance tracking. So if you come in and there's biometric attendance tracking, that's not far from being possible. You simply walk in, and there are classrooms out there in the world today where systems can automatically identify who was present, who was absent, and even as much as who was attentive, who was not attentive, and then create a more personalized learning path for each of the students based on how they are interacting with the content, not only through means of exams or quizzes, but also by tracking all of the data as to what's your behavior like in the classroom itself. So that's pretty cool. I would say it's also, again, like most technologies, it's unfamiliar and there are risks associated with over tracking and over reliance on a technology. But still, there's a lot of potential in being able to optimize the potential of each of the students. As we know how hard it can be to manage a group of students, then this allows us to become better educators by relying on such technologies that will allow us to personalize the learning for each of the students. And I just wanted to share an example that if there are some cases in China and in South Korea where such there's the concept of smart desks which attracts postures, engagement, lighting, and then also smart classrooms, which actually tracks a lot more as we just discussed, which is, and it will be you can go look up in YouTube and you'll find some interesting videos around it, and it's a bit debatable right now. That's why it's not very mainstream, but it's very much possible today, and the future will change dramatically. Yeah. So as we discuss some of the challenges with IoT, it's important to understand in what shape and size to introduce it in our classrooms and to our students. And of course, cost and infrastructure gaps are very real, that it may not always be possible to adopt the latest and greatest of the technologies. But at the same time, as the cost of technology drops dramatically, we should still be in the lookout for opportunistically utilizing the technologies that have a lot more value as well as have affordability. All right, with that, we move on to number three. It's one of my favorites because it's just so cool. I think like chat is back. So any guesses, people, what number three is? This one is really, really interesting and really cool. Again, one of the very controversial ones too. Yes, that's absolutely right. It's biotechnology. Again, biotechnology has been there forever, but there have been some recent, I wouldn't say very recent, it's been there for some time, but those technologies along with AI are going to become so much more powerful. And let's take a look at some of them. Before we go take a look at specific examples of technologies pertaining to biotech, let's understand what biotechnology is, what encompasses biotechnology. Any technology that uses or manipulates living organisms to develop new technologies or products is known as biotechnology. I think the definition itself is a little bit scary when we are starting to talk about manipulating living organisms, but that's very much so. That's very much it. And there are examples of manipulating plants as well as animals, but also humans for that matter. And then it's not all bad. There are really great uses of biotechnology, such as gene editing, which is the CRISPR technology. That is one of the more recent technologies. It allows you to, in a very controlled manner, change some parts of the genes with a very high accuracy. And synthetic biology is about creating newer organisms by modifying the biology of existing organisms. But these would allow, so gene editing, while it changes the biology by editing of the genes, more of the applications are around removing or eliminating diseases. So if there is If we have a disease that cannot be cured otherwise, or an incurable disease, gene editing is able to solve that. And then it's also risky and quite debatable because it's hard to draw the boundary of what's a flaw in human, because diversity has its own value. That is why there are a lot of regulations around this technology too. While the technology is ready, but regulations are very tight and controlled until the humankind can figure out how much of it to allow. Whereas synthetic biology is about tweaking the biology to create new kinds or forms of organisms, such as different forms of rice. There is something called golden rice that can be produced, which is high in nutrition value, but also quite affordable, which has the potential to treat malnutrition in much more backward societies. So there's tons of good that can come out of these advancements. And personalized medicines, again, is something which is very useful, is that for every specific human, you could have very specific personalized medicine now, and the technology is rapidly evolving, and also some to a large extent mature too. And we'll look at few more quite like sci-fi like use cases of biotech. But the main thing about biotech and how it's going to advance in the next 10 years is that it's going to blur the boundaries between body and machine. There is potential of human becoming augmented with technology or manipulated with technology in ways that both enable those who are not enabled otherwise, but also enhance normal human beings. So this goes beyond the virtual world that we look at when we talk about technology. And that's why biotechnology is so interesting to me, because it starts to breach the boundaries of body and machine. And we talked about CRISPR, how that is one of the technologies that allows gene editing to eliminate inherited diseases and otherwise incurable diseases. Um, and some of these examples. And I wanted to talk about a little bit more about CRISPR here, that how does it work? So gene editing again is specifically interesting, and I put this slide uh, right before our talk today. The reason is just yesterday, if you go look at the news, only yesterday there was the first case. That case happened on February 25th, but it was made public news only yesterday, or maybe like 2 days ago. It was a historical medical breakthrough that a baby boy became the first baby kid in the world to receive a gene editing therapy that allowed curing an otherwise incurable disease. And the way it works is to remove or alter specific locations by using the CRISPR technology, which is kind of like molecular scissors. So it's amazing how far we have come with technology. And this is the example that I wanted to take and go dive deeper into. Another one is brain computer interfaces. So this is also something which is very interesting. You may have heard about Neuralink, and Neuralink embeds a chip inside your brain. It's an invasive procedure, but it allows you to control computers using your brain, using your neural signals. And those who are not otherwise able to use their limbs, for them, this is the technology that is being used on them. Of course, it has potential far beyond that too, but it definitely is a great capability for those who can't use their limbs. And Synchron is now a latest company who has come in, and it has created devices which don't even require as invasive a surgery, and it doesn't require a full brain surgery, and it lies on a slightly outer layer of your brain. And this is a cool video where you can see that there is this guy who is not using any hands, but he is able to interact with his doctor, with everybody, by using ChatGPT plus Synchron. So ChatGPT for him guesses all the kind of responses the person would want to give, and with his brain with his mind, he's able to select one of the responses that is generated, and thereby, purely by using his mind to think, he's able to operate a computer, which is amazing. Another extremely cool technology I wanted to talk about is 3D bioprinting. So we all know like how many patients there must be in the world that suffer from some sort of organ failure and have to wait for an organ to be available, which a lot of the times causes lives because claims lives because of course we can't have as many organs available on demand. But 3D bioprinting is again something out of the science fiction world, wherein you can potentially print organs using human tissues. Now, the image here is not something that is a reality, but that's the potential, that's the future of bioprinting, that you are able to print more and more complex organs too using bioprinting. And here are some of the companies who are already kind of working on some of the problems. For us as educators, what do we do with biotechnology? I think it's important to encourage interest and at least educate and make them informed about such a technology. And it's also very important to have discussions about ethics in the context of such powerful technologies that are going to come and become a reality for the students. There are kids today, but are going to become in charge of such technologies, and they will have access to such technologies. As to how do we think about ethics in such a rapidly changing world. All right. So from biotechnology, now we will move to number two. What is this one? I think this one is a slightly hard one, but it's also something that all of you would be aware of. I think just the terminology that I have put here might be a bit hard to grasp. So I'm quite interested to see if somebody can guess what this is. Yeah, at least we have one person. Uh, that's quite exciting. Awesome, awesome, Muskan, ma'am, and Dipali, ma'am. Yes, yes, it's external reality, and typically known as AR, VR, augmented reality, or virtual reality is what we commonly know of it as. Extended reality is nothing but um, all of them together is known as extended reality. All the technology that allows you to extend your reality is known as extended reality. I wonder if any of you played Pokemon Go, but it became such a huge craze some time back, and that is a perfect example of augmented reality done well. And there are many cool applications of AR and VR even today. The interface that we have to use for VR, it's a very bulky headset, and that's what's the only blocking piece which has not made it entirely mainstream to today. But I think through a lot of like gaming interfaces, people who are into gaming are already using VR and AR quite extensively. While augmented, what's the difference between augmented reality versus virtual reality? I wanted to cover a little bit of that. So we understand that extended reality allows you to make some of the virtual world like we see in a movie into a real world. So we are able to experience that. So while augmented reality allows you to add digital content to the real world, so that let's say if you point your phone towards something, you can see something. I think you guys would have, some of you would have played with on Google also. There is a app, you can open your Google app on phone. Everybody would have it, and then you can place animals on your in your drawing room or in your bedroom. And that's a very cool technology to play with. So that's an example of AR. Other examples would be if you place your phone and if you point to a scan code or in a book, then you can look at immersive experiences inside of the phone itself. Even your Google Maps gives you some AR capabilities like that. Now, virtual reality is when you wear a headset, or in future, hopefully, the headset goes away, such a bulky technology, and then uh, maybe brain computing interface comes into play, or there is some other way of doing the same thing, but you feel like you are immersed in a completely digital world. So you go into the world as opposed to something being laid on top of the world while you're still watching it through a video. So VR is just another level, but it's also a bit inconvenient to use today and a bit expensive to use today. But as that inconvenience starts to go away, the potential is huge. And some of the examples of very positive examples of AR and VR applications outside of gaming and that are also in use today is simulation. So it's very heavily used for simulations such as flight simulation, surgery simulations, so that people can train themselves. Um, and AR is also used for other very mainstream applications such as shopping. IKEA has an AR app, and so do a lot of the other ones as well. I think Mintra also has, we can call it AR to some extent, that you can try on dresses. I saw that some makeup app also was able to you are able to place and try lipstick shades on yourself, and that's also another example of AR. Uh, and in manufacturing and military simulations, there are other applications also that AR and VR allows for. But what I wanted to do today was talk specifically about education a little bit and what kind of things would be feasible with AR and VR in education. I think like AR and VR in education is probably like one of the best use cases because for kids, it will be so hard to understand some concepts. But if you could live in a simulation of that concept. So for example, if you are teaching history or if you are teaching geography, if the kids could go to that time or age and interact with the historical people, or if they could visit a certain geographical location and experience it for themselves, right? For example, if they could go to the International Space Station and they can interact with notable astronauts, maybe Sunita Williams is teaching them about how to operate in a space station, and then they go and do those things themselves. They look at the Earth from the space station. The way they will absorb that information and understand that concept would be very different from just reading about it. So I think in education, AR and VR, if that becomes mainstream, if our schools have that sort of a facility, it is going to be phenomenally transformational. And I have a very cool video to show. Just let me
Yeah.
let me know if the video is visible. Is the video visible or is it my?
Yeah, it is visible.
Okay, I'll just reduce the volume a little bit.
Grading was one of them for this, right?
Nice and easy. Want to keep your heart rate steady. Anything under 80 beats per minute is great.
This is freaking
Evie,
stunning.
Readings down here. This is going to be a walk in the park for you.
Beautiful.
Okay. My heart rate was going nuts the first time.
Oh, I can feel it in my guts. This is just I can't describe
Hey,
it.
newbie. Great you could join me. Let me pull down those shades for you.
Oh,
Yeah, so this is to say that I wanted to show this video because we took the example of International Space Station visit. It's already possible. I think it's also a free app. If you have the right VR headset, you can play that game too. And it's already possible today, and then it's going to become quite mainstream in the future. And it has so many applications. And some of the interesting, I think I'll just mention one point about while in other technologies, we talked about how privacy is a concern, how security is a concern, ethics is a concern. In AR, VR, I think there are more normal concerns as well. As it feels so real sometimes to be in the VR world that people experience nausea or fear, as in this video that we were seeing, that the person actually feels like he's in space. It's not a game to them anymore, and they feel quite tense and nauseous and all that, and then they have to take care of it. So those are the kind of things that VR developers have to take care of too. So it's just interesting. I thought I'll share that. uh, I wanted to make a note of metaverse. Maybe very quickly we'll talk about metaverse because this might be something all of you keep hearing. So I wanted to talk about what's metaverse and bring some familiarity to it. So metaverse is the idea of a virtual reality. While in this video, we saw an example of a person experiencing space in virtual reality. While metaverse is almost like a model universe, maybe in a smaller context where, let's say, all of us have our logins much the same way we do on Instagram or Facebook, but we exist in metaverse. Our personas exist on metaverse. Our avatars exist in metaverse, and we are able to do transactions, or we are able to play together or do business together. And that's what a metaverse is. It's a virtual reality, but within a context of a universe where you can do much more than just experience a particular game on your own. And Fortnite and Roblox are sort of like mini virtual environments where, along with VR plus these universes and game experiences combined, it will again become a thing of almost magical, as we will feel. There are also things like in the metaverse, then you could theoretically, your avatar can stay far beyond when we have gone away from the face of the earth, and our clones could stay in the metaverse. And then there's a lot of discussion around that too, as to what would that mean, that you could have your loved ones around in the metaverse and you can still communicate with them after they have gone. So there are also very interesting but highly conflicting opinions about the implications of metaverse and what would that mean in the real world. So, but there are some dangers to be aware of also, which are more real here and also in our control, that we should be taking care of for our kids and for our students. The dangers of digital addiction, screen fatigue, much like any other gaming experience, is very important. The dangers of content moderation. So in virtual reality, then almost everything is possible and it's highly interactive. So the dangers that you have from general screen exposure and internet exposure just amplifies in the context of virtual reality. And that all needs to be taken care of by parents and educators. So much more we have to be careful for our kids on how they operate in the metaverse. All right, with that, we will go to number one. It's number one for sure, and it is the underlying technology that enables all of the other technologies to just become much, much, much more powerful. I'm sure a lot of you would be able to guess what number one is here. Yes, and what? So artificial intelligence and robotics. Yes, that's true. It's artificial intelligence and robotics. Of course, both of them can have their own sections too. I combined them both because the boundaries are going to get fuzzy very quickly. All right, so I'll go through this very quickly because I think we are close to about time. Artificial intelligence, all of us must be using it. If you have used ChatGPT, if you have used Alexa or Google, if you have used Google Maps, if you have used even your phone filter app, anything that you have used, almost everything today is going to have some aspect of AI. If you have used Google search, you have used AI, right? So all of us have definitely used AI. So what makes it more interesting now and in the next 10 years? So the most breakthrough thing that has happened in the last 2-3 years is the advent of large language models, or LLMs, or what we commonly know as ChatGPT or Gemini, which are applications that are using LLMs. This is a new type of machine learning model, which is a deep learning model that has become possible, which has significantly increased the ability of artificial intelligence to solve complex problems, and more so in a very general way. For example, with ChatGPT, you can ask it to create a poem, but you can also ask it to solve a math problem. You can also ask it to create an image. So it's much, much more general intelligence than what AI used to be in the past. In the past, if you trained a model to do Google search, it can only do Google search. It can't solve math problems. So we are moving more and more towards one, general artificial intelligence, and second, the ability of the general artificial intelligence to solve complex problems. That's growing exponentially, not even linearly. It's growing exponentially. And it's set to become like much more powerful than human ability. It's possible because of couple of interesting things that have happened in the more recent times. So number one thing we talked about, which is LLMs, this key model that we have unlocked, but also the fact that our machines have just become so much more powerful. So NVIDIA came up with GPUs and TPUs, which can do trillions of calculations, which was, if you don't do that, then AI cannot work. AI is power hungry, and it needs to do a lot of computation, and that has become possible now. And There is also for robots, essentially for robotics, there are two key things that have become possible. One is possibility of smaller and smaller AI chips that are possible to place on a device. So your smaller device, let's say you have a small bot, can now look at the world and will have vision capabilities, will have reasoning capabilities and complex decision-making capabilities on that small chip that you can place on a small device in a very cost-effective way too. And secondly, you also have these robots that have now become much more dextrous, which by which I mean that it's not that earlier what used to happen is that if you have a big robot, even for a single hand swipe to hold a bottle, it was impossible. And now you have robots that can pretty much do anything. It can hold things, it can cook dinner, it can dance, it can do all that all, with a high level of dexterity. So that's what has happened on the robotic side. And we'll take a look at how powerful both AI is and robots are now. So I think some of you, of course, a lot of you would have tried GPT. If you have not, I think that's an assignment for you. You must try ChatGPT and you should try to write a story and create an image at the least. And I'll show you how easy it is to now create a video also from AI, and I'll take another. So you see that here in this video, Midjourney was used to create an artwork, and you give that artwork to Runway, which is another AI application that can generate videos, and all of it is automated. And automatically, you can use ChatGPT to say, "Hey, create me a movie plot," and then you can use Midjourney to create some images out of that movie plot. You can use Runway to create movies, and you have become a movie maker. It has become that straightforward. Same thing for music. You can basically ask ChatGPT to write a song and then use AI to create both the lyrics, the song, and the melody, everything. And I have tried this myself, so it's pretty straightforward. It takes like 5 seconds and no knowledge absolutely to become a musician of that ability. Of course, the best of the musicians still have a lot of knowledge and skill, but you can do that today in 5 seconds, almost free of cost. And from being from like tech myself, I would say that 30% of the code already is started to be written by AI, like Copilot. And it's not that we write all of the code manually anymore. And that will only increase as we go in the next years, and very rapidly so. And for robots, what has changed is that there are companies like Boston Dynamics, Da Vinci, and Delivery Droids. There are many, many things who are making specialized robots for all of these odd jobs, as well as such as highly precision things, which is robotic surgeries, and also things like deliveries, which would replace humans. And then Boston Dynamics is creating like a bot who could be your personal assistant, who could do all sorts of things because they can almost mimic human-like agility. And let's talk a little bit about AI in education now, because this is very important. This is real, this is here now, and this is going to stay and evolve only. I think as educators, we should already start using AI tools. In the coming weeks, we will have another specific session on how to use AI in education, and we'll go much more deeper here. But just as a starting point, definitely explore Canva AI, ChatGPT, Magic School, and some simple things that you can use these AI tools for is to help you create lesson plans and teaching resources for the class, create quizzes. I know a lot of teachers who already do that. And surely I would encourage all of you to also learn new skills, not only in the context of teaching, but also for yourselves to upskill yourself. For example, I was telling my mom the other day that if she's interested in creating sweaters by hand, and she can use ChatGPT to basically ask about create a new image, a unique pattern, and then give me step-by-step instructions to do so. And it's very much possible. So it's up to your creativity on how you want to use these tools. And for students, there are many, many more learning opportunities now with AI that we should explore. Again, in the coming webinar, we will try to cover much more about it. Now, we'll end with a very few quick tips for all of us in how do we adapt to these changes and how do we leverage these changes as well. So number one thing is embrace technology. Do not shy away from it. Do it to the extent you would like to do it, but definitely try to familiarize yourself with technology. Try to make it a part of your day to day. And for teaching and for in your teaching, focus on skills and not just the content. I think this will happen naturally more as we go through the next decade. But we need to find a way to focus on core skills like critical thinking and creativity, because information value of remembering, memorizing information, or even learning skills like very niche coding or very specific type of coding skills is going to go down dramatically. But logical thinking, creativity, human skills, digital literacy is going to trump all of it. So we need to start to focus on skill more and slightly less on rote learning and older methodologies. We should start to incorporate future ready activities, even if it is not mainstream, but just talking about them, encouraging students to try it at their home in a responsible way, and is very important so that they build an interest towards it and they don't shy away. It doesn't become like maths for them, that they are scared of it and it just seems too overwhelming to them. So it should feel like a game to them, and they should feel a genuine curiosity and interest towards it. And that's our responsibility that we can deliver. And for all of us, I think it's important to stay curious, keep educating yourself, keep learning, watch some short videos whenever you have time, attend such webinars. We will try to do our best to also keep all of you up to date on these things with small training courses, webinars, and even just like small um, news items that we can share from time to time. And at the end, I think just start small. We don't have to start big. We don't have to create AI labs or robotics labs. Just start small, use whatever is available in the context and limitations of our classrooms and our homes and our devices. There's a lot of potential to even if we start small. So I think that's where I would end today with a quick recap of the 6 emerging technologies that we talked about: blockchain, quantum computing, Internet of Things, biotechnology, extended reality, and artificial intelligence. I hope all of you had a good time and it was not too deep in tech, and it was light and fun, and also it encouraged you to explore a little bit more on your own. Um, you can now follow this link to go to the certification quiz. It's a very simple 5-minute quiz. And at the end of the quiz, when you end it, you can collect your certificates. Thank you so much for your time today. It was a pleasure to.
Sarika, can you go to the next screen, please?
Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone. Again, you are going to get a certificate like this with the verification code ID, certified date, the name, everything will be there in the certificate. You just have to click on the link which is shared on the chat. Also, we have shared one feedback link. So your feedback is very important for us so that we keep on improving and we keep our motivation high. Thank you so much, and we wish you all the best. And we'll see you again very soon in the next seminar, which is about AI. Thank you very much. If you have any other questions, kindly ask me and Sarika. The team Codju is here, so we can answer those questions. Sarika, any final words?
Yes, I would just want to say, as in that you guys have been a great audience. Thank you for continuing to the very end. Please do take the quiz. It's a fun one, and get your certificate. And I would love to interact more with you. So if you have any ideas for other topics that you would love to learn about, please put them in the chat. Thank you so much. Have a good day, guys.